All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Xavier Duran. I am the Arts, Culture, Education Programming Librarian for the Lisle Library District. A couple of things before we begin. We are in what's called webinar mode, which means that I am the only one with an active camera and microphone, which means I will not be able to hear or see you during the presentation. If you have any questions, please put those in the Q&A section below. And once we get to a natural stopping point or to a natural next step to our section, we'll go ahead and answer those questions that you have. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera just so that we can focus on the presentation. So this is an outline of what we will cover in tonight's program. We're going to talk about some of the jargon used with regards to tablets and e-readers. We're also going to talk about the devices that are preferable for people who just want to read, and also devices for people who want to read and more. I'll also go ahead and offer some tips on how to get either yourself or the person who's receiving the tablet or the e-reader as a gift this holiday season, and what you can do to kind of get them familiar. And we'll go ahead and talk about some takeaways from the presentation and additional information, or rather I should say contact information for us if you have any other questions. So let's begin with jargon. And at the very first, we're going to talk about, and the very first set of devices that we'll talk about are considered e-readers. And what an e-reader does is allows someone to read text on a black and gray screen. Often this is called an electronic ink or an e-ink screen, and it sounds just like what it is. It is a gray screen, and electricity is passed through the screen that allows the electronic ink to display text on the screen. It requires very little power, so e-readers have a tendency to go weeks, sometimes even months without charging. However, there are some e-readers that are equipped with night lights or that are backlit to help you read in low light situations or even at night. E-readers tend to be easier on the eyes compared to what we're going to talk about. And they don't have that many bells or whistles in terms of the next set of devices that we will talk about, which are called tablets. Tablets allows someone to read text on a screen and listen to audiobooks and browse the internet and much more. A majority of the time, tablets can be e-readers. You can load up the Kindle app for either for iOS or Android, which we will get to. You can also install applications such as Libby or Press Reader. Think of tablets as a massive smartphones. You're basically reading or looking at items on a computer monitor or touch screen. A lot of screens have evolved so that they are a little gentler on the eyes, so you don't have that much eye strain. Some tablets will also have will change into nighttime mode, as sometimes tablets give off blue light that can sometimes mess with your circadian rhythm, which some people have said interrupts their sleep patterns. So those are the two types of devices that we will be talking about. Next is overdrive, and you will hear sometimes overdrive and the application Libby used interchangeably. That's not an accident, and I'll talk about that in our next slide. Overdrive is a service that most libraries use to purchase and loan ebooks and e-audiobooks to patrons. Connected to Overdrive is Libby, which is the app or application used to help patrons get ebooks and e-audiobooks from Overdrive that the library purchased. Next, we're going to talk about what's called Android. Android is an operating system. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as an OS. The OS, or the operating system, really is just software that manages the device. Android can be found on a variety of tablets. The Kindle Fire, which we will discuss, runs on a version of the Android operating system, or OS. So does the Samsung Galaxy Tab, as well as the Nook tablet that is made by Lenovo. We're also going to talk about, or rather, the next jargony word that we're going to discuss is iOS. And again, it's an operating system, or OS, software that manages the device of Apple-produced devices. The thing with iOS that's so different from Android is that the iOS works exclusively with Apple devices. You will not find, or rather, I should say, you won't find a legitimate device that runs iOS. There have been instances where people have what they called not bricked. They have installed an iOS on a product that normally runs Android, and that's called jailbreaking, which we won't discuss, but rather it's a way of retrofitting a software into some devices that weren't intended to run that software. And lastly, apps. You'll hear this pop up a lot, especially if you're in the arena of tablets. Short for applications, this allows a device, namely a tablet, to do something. You'll have a clock app on your phone, on your smartphone, a maps app which tells you directions. Some kind of popular apps that you'll find on a computer is Microsoft Office, and sometimes you'll see Adobe Photoshop referred to as an app. When again, app is just shorthand for application, which allows a device, a computer, a smartphone, what have you, to do something. So we'll go ahead and begin with e-readers. One of the most popular e-readers in the market are the Kindle e-readers. These range anywhere from $99 all the way to $339. It is an e-reader produced by Amazon, and it allows you to buy books directly on the Kindle. So if your Kindle is connected to your home's internet, or if you're at a cafe and you're able to connect your e-reader to their internet, you can buy books directly from Amazon. For this, you'll need to have your Amazon account and password handy. These are good to have in case you need to either verify your account through the Kindle. You'll also need this when you want to download a book onto your device through Overdrive. So you're going to want to keep these handy. In terms of why there's such a gulf between devices, it just comes down to bells and whistles. On the $99 end, you'll just have a very basic Kindle e-reader, which all it does is you can read text on a screen. In between, you'll get more bells and whistles. You'll get a nightlight or a backlit screen. Some of them also come with higher resolution so that the screen looks closer to an actual book. And then you'll also get into screen size as well. How you would go about loading a book onto your Kindle e-reader, you will need to have a couple things. One, if you have a computer, or you can use this on your smartphone, basically what you're going to do is you're going to look at our catalog of ebooks, either through our website, or basically it will point you to emedialibrary.overdrive.com. You don't have to remember that. It is listed in our website under e-resources if you want to refer back to it. So basically, what you'll do is you'll look through our catalog, and once you find a book that you want to read on your Kindle, what you'll go ahead and do is check out the book with your Lisle library card number and your PIN, which is the last four of the digits of your phone number. And then it will give you the opportunity to read it on your Kindle. When you click on that option, it will redirect you to Amazon. From Amazon, it will ask you for your Kindle's Amazon password and account, and it will give you the option from a drop-down menu to send it to the desired Kindle if you have more than one Kindle e-reader under your account. Once you select the device, it will wirelessly send that book to your Kindle. Your Kindle will need to be connected to a wireless to internet, to your home's internet, or just whatever internet is available that you're able to access. There are some Kindles that have, and this is why there's such a gulf between $99 and $339. There are some premium Kindles. I believe it's the Kindle Oasis that has cellular capabilities. So if you're nowhere in the area of your internet connection or in a place where you don't have internet, this will allow the device to download books and allow you to go through the Amazon's catalog of books so you can purchase or download books directly onto your device. In terms of e-readers, the Kindle e-readers have been some of the ones that have come through our library a lot in terms of questions and are pretty easy to troubleshoot. Next, the second popular one that usually comes through our library in terms of help and assistance is the Nook. The Nook is produced by Barnes and Noble, and it was kind of like a competitor to Barnes and Noble, or I should say Kindle. The Nook, there's less of a gulf in prices. In terms of the e-reader, it can go from 119 to all the way to 149. And again, it's really about bells and whistles. Some will come with a nightlight so that you can read in low light situations. Others will come with those bells and whistles on top of a larger screen or higher screen resolution so that it looks more like a book than a screen. You'll need to have both your BNN, your Barnes and Noble, or else sometimes say BNN account and password. You're going to want to keep these handy. For these, to load a book onto a Nook, you'll need a computer, and your standard desktop computer, a Windows computer, or a Mac. And what you'll do is similar to checking out an Overdrive book, you'll go through our catalog of books offered by Overdrive that we've purchased, and you will select a book and you will download that book onto your computer. You will also need to download something called Adobe Digital Editions, which is a software that manages the rights of ebooks. So what it does is for you to set up the Adobe Digital Editions on your computer, I believe you'll need to create an account with Adobe Digital, and this authorizes the computer to send the copy protected book to your device, the Nook. And then usually it'll come with a USB cable that you would connect to your Nook, and you will then ask the computer to transfer that book to the Nook, and that's how you get an ebook to this device. The initial setup for The Nook can be a bit of a learning curve, does have a bit of a learning curve. However, after you get that foundation done, it's pretty easy to transfer books um, from Overdrive onto your computer and from your computer to the Nook. The next one that we're going to talk about is called the Kobo. A Kobo ranges from anywhere between $99 and $399. And again, that golf is really what bells and whistles are offered. Kobo allows you to, similar to both the Kindle and the Nook, it allows you to purchase books directly on the Kobo. Again, you'll need to create a Kobo account and password and to have those handy just so that when you need to verify an account, you can have that information to verify the account. The Kobo is unique as it can connect it directly to Overdrive. So it will give you an opportunity to connect your local library to the Lisle Library District using your library card number and your PIN. From there, you should be able to directly go through the catalog of books on Overdrive that the Lisle Library District has purchased. I will go ahead and say that Kobo mentions that they only have books available on Overdrive if they're available for purchase on Kobo. Now, I don't personally own a Kobo, nor have I dealt with the service before, so I'm not too sure what books might not be available or might not be available that need to kind of overlap with Kobo's bookstore and the Overdrive service. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of kind of the need for a second computer like the Nook. It's great because it allows you, as long as you're connected to the internet or to Wi-Fi, connected to the internet, you should be able to connect to Overdrive and go through our catalog and check out books that way. Of course, as long as those books are available for purchase through the Kobo store. So I'm going to go ahead and pause just for a second so you can kind of digest all of that. Um, there's about maybe three, I think the ones I just mentioned in terms of e-readers, three of the most popular ones that are available for purchase and that have come through our library. So we have some sort of understanding of those e-readers. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to put that through. I'll just also talk to you about the services that are available for e-readers. So we just wrapped up e-readers, and really the only library service at the Lisle Library District that you can use for these e-readers is Overdrive. You won't be able to use Press Reader because it requires an app so that you can see magazines on your device. You won't be able to use Hoopla, which is another book lending service, as it requires another application, and you won't be able to use Canopy or Lynda, or LinkedIn, I should say LinkedIn Learning by Lynda. Really, the only thing that you can use with e-readers in terms of library services is Overdrive. And all of these devices have both advantages and disadvantages. So if you're purchasing this for yourself, or if you're purchasing this for yourself, or for a loved one, or for someone for the holidays, just to be cognizant of those advantages and the individual who's going to receive it and their expertise in terms of knowledge. All right, we're going to talk about tablets next. So I'll go ahead and start with the most popular one. This is called the Apple iPad. The Apple iPad, as I mentioned before, is an Apple product. It runs iOS, which is specifically for Apple products. These tend to be some of the most expensive tablets in the market, but they're also incredibly valuable. And in terms of apps and compatibility with our library offerings, is one of the most flexible and one that you can use with almost all of our applications that I can think of. Uh, and that's going to be true for all the other tablets that I'm going to list. Think of the iPad as a very large, and also tablets as a very large smartphone. On top of being able to read text like an e-reader, you can also listen to books through Libby. So if you are an audiobook listener, or if your recipient is an audiobook listener, they will be able to do that. On top of that, they will be able to browse the internet if they have an available internet connection, either at home or at their local library. Some people will visit our library, connect to our Wi-Fi, to our internet, browse for hours, and then go home and do whatever they need to do. You will need to set up an Apple ID and password. These are incredibly handy to have from time to time. Whenever you download an app, it will ask for a password. This is slowly but surely falling to the wayside, in that you really don't need an Apple ID or password, or rather, I should say, a password, because it will use either a Face ID, which is basically a face recognition, or Touch ID, which is basically just your fingerprint identification. However, if you opt to not go to these, make sure that you keep your password and your Apple ID handy, so that if you were to download a new app, these can be easily recalled, and you can put in that information and download the app that you need. Another one, second to the Apple iPad, are the Samsung Galaxy Tab. And you know what? I'll go back to, sorry about that. I'll go back to the Apple iPad. The price, again, similar to the e-readers, the Massive Golf, is bells and whistles. There's the iPad Mini, which I believe tends to be below $499. Um, and it sounds exactly like that. It is a miniature form of the iPad. These tend to be about the same size as an e-reader, if not just a tiny bit bigger. And then as you go up in price, the tablets do get bigger. You also get more memory, uh, uh, better speed, a larger screen, basically more bells and whistles. And you'll basically wind up with kind of a full-fledged computer that is suitable for editing TikToks, photos, sometimes typing up papers. Um, Basically, you're getting into a premium computer as the price goes up. And so the price is, again, bells and whistles, size of the tablet, and processing power to the point that you can edit photos and videos and type up papers if need be. And with our tablets, you should be able to use over almost all of our apps provided by the Lisle Library District. I mean, I will go ahead, and once we talk about the Kindle Fire, that's when we need to have a longer discussion on that. In terms of affordability, or rather, uh, yeah, we'll talk about affordability. In terms of affordability, um, Android tablets tend to be a little more affordable. And that's because there's such a wide variety of companies that produce tablets. One of them, of course, is Samsung, and they have a popular line called the Samsung Galaxy Tab. And again, they can range from $78 all the way to $1,000, and really comes down to bells and whistles and screen size. But there you are still able, and it runs on Android, and you're still able to use the same apps as an iPad, or a majority of the apps as the iPad. In terms of library apps or applications, you should be able to use Canopy, Overdrive, Hoopla, etc. Any app that the library provides in terms of digital services, you should be able to run on the Galaxy Tab. Really, it comes down to screen size, bells and whistles, and what you're comfortable spending with. The Galaxy Tab, Android in general, tends to be highly customizable. So the Samsung Galaxy Tab would be a great product for someone who is, for yourself, if you're highly tech savvy and want to be able to customize each and every each and every facet of your tablet. And it's great for tinkerers, I should say. Again, when you set up your tablet, your Samsung Galaxy tablet, please keep your Android, or sometimes it'll ask you to set up a Google username and password, and these would be used to download apps. Let's see. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and answer a question. The question asked is, what is the checkout duration, or is the ebook downloaded, then you're kept forever? So we're being asked about the duration for ebooks and whether or not we keep, whether or not you're able to keep them forever. And that's a great question. On Libby, or I should say on Overdrive, through the Libby app, you are able to customize how long you can check out the book for. It can go all the way to 21 days if you are one of those readers that needs to kind of be completely immersed in the text, or rather, and that goes the same for e-audiobooks, or if you're a fast reader or tend to kind of burn the midnight oil to read your next favorite book in the series, you can keep for up to 7 days. So up to 21 days maximum, as short as 7 days, if you'd like. After that time, after it reaches 7 days or 21 days or whatever time you set it to, it will automatically check itself back in. So you do not have to worry about having to mark something on the calendar saying you need to return an ebook. Ebooks and e-audiobooks, which are audiobooks that you can listen to on your tablet, will automatically check themselves back in. And sometimes if people, what has happened is if some individuals need some extra time with an item, it gets a little tricky. However, with Libby, if there's no one else waiting for that item, you can request additional time with the book, and it will renew the item for you for another amount of time. So that's a great question. But in terms of if you're able to keep your book forever, no, unfortunately. The software that the company uses is really great at making sure that the books are returned when they say that they need to be returned. Great question. Now we come to Kindle Fire. Kindle Fire, so a lot of our, we get a lot of Kindle Fire questions. And I think Kindle Fires tend to be an exception to what I've, I'll go back, sorry about that. So Kindle Fires, that's the tablet of, oh my, sorry about that. Kindle Fire is the tablet offered by Amazon. It has a very attractive price point from $59 all the way to $149. And again, it comes with bells and whistles. As you can see from the graphic, it comes in about 3 different sizes. I believe there's a 6, an 8-inch, and a 10-inch. Very similar to kind of the Samsung Galaxy Tab and the Apple iPad. Kindle Fire is inexpensive. However, it's been engineered to work best with Amazon's suite of products. So say that if you have a Prime account through Amazon, often the Prime account will come with other features like the ability to watch videos without additional charge, listen to music, check out a book once a month. And those services work incredibly well with the Kindle Fire. It tends to get a little trickier when you introduce apps or application. I'll go ahead and say that Prime Video, Prime Music, Prime Books are all apps on the Kindle Fire that work best with the Kindle Fire because it's hardware hardware engineered for those products. It does run a version of Android, but not really. So if there's something that you can get on the Play Store on, say, your Google phone, you won't be able to get it. You might not be able to get it through the Kindle App Store. And that's just the nature of things. That's just the nature of Kindle Fire. It's sort of a tablet to be used exclusively for the suite of Amazon's products. At the same time, it's not a bad device to purchase. It will run a lot of our library apps. One that it won't run is Libby by Overdrive. You'll need to download an older version called Overdrive. And this is where it gets tricky in terms of the applications used by the Overdrive company. The Overdrive company will give Kindle Fire users the Overdrive app that can be used similar to Libby. Overdrive tends to have a bit of a learning curve compared to Libby, but you're still able to download books from Overdrive on the Overdrive app. You're still able to listen to audiobooks on the Overdrive app. It's just sort of a workaround that the Overdrive company used so that it can play nicely with the Kindle Fire. You should be able to use Hoopla, which is similar to Overdrive, Press Reader, and Canopy. These tend to, again, the Kindle Fire tends to be inexpensive, geared towards Amazon's suite of apps, so Prime Video, music, books, etc. And it does run a version of Android. Yeah, I would say if you want, I would, if you're interested in the Kindle Fire, and I'm saying this only because I've seen some frustrated patrons come in. It's best to kind of go in the in between of the $59 and the $149 Kindle Fire. However, if you know what you're interested in doing on the Kindle Fire, again, just do whatever your budget and what your experience with technology dictates. And lastly, we have the Nook tablet, and it has one price point, $129, and it runs Android. I put down Android 10 because that is, I believe, the latest release for Android that works on the Nook tablet that I saw on the website. It is based on Lenovo hardware, which it used to be, I believe, Yeah, I'm not going to go through that. Sorry about that. It is an Android tablet that runs on Lenovo hardware, similar to when we were talking about the Galaxy Tab that runs on Samsung hardware using Android. Think of this as, again, as a big smartphone that runs Android. It should be able to get run all of your library apps. So you should be able to get Libby. You should be able to get Hoopla. You should be able to get Press Reader. You should be able to get Canopy, and a majority of the apps that we have here at the library. So before I continue on with the section, just going to give you a bit of a breather, also myself a breather. Sorry about that. When it comes to technology, it's always changing. Um, it's always changing. The latest iOS or the operating system, Android, what it looks like on this slideshow might look incredibly different because it's continuously innovating and changing and updating how Android and Apple works with their hardware. Um, it can be a lot, but the best thing that you can do for yourself is just check in and see what, if you're getting this device for yourself, what do you want to do with it? Do you just want to read? Then if you just want to read, then an e-reader is fine. If you kind of want to use it as an e-reader, but also want to check your mail and maybe watch movies, then maybe a tablet would be, um, you might be much more better suited with a tablet, or the recipient might be better suited with a tablet. And then once you have that question down, then it's easier to drill down which device, according to your budget and your tech savviness, would probably be a good fit for you. So going back to our slide, we're going to talk about how to get yourself and the recipient of the gift, even or maybe the recipient is yourself, familiar with new technology. You'll most likely be the first line of tech support that the individual has. So get yourself familiar with the device. You don't have to be a complete expert, but if you know how to turn on the device, turn it off, go into settings, all of that, that should be a good start for getting yourself familiar with the device, so that you can help your the person that you're giving that to, or just to give you a good head start once you get that device for your own use. The next thing is, with anything new, it's always going to be frustrating. So spend some time with the recipient, or just sit down with the device and get yourself familiar with it. I know that's some of the concern being they're like, oh, I don't want to break the device. I don't want to ruin the device. And it's very difficult nowadays, especially with the Apple iPad, to sort of, or even the app, I should say tablets, to kind of ruin them. Unless, of course, you physically snap it in half with your hands, or accidentally step on it, or accidentally sit on it. It's really tough to break the device unless you physically break it. So spend some time with the device, get yourself familiar. And if you mess up something, a majority of the time, shutting down the device completely, not putting it to sleep, will fix a majority of problems. Most libraries, in an effort to promote library services such as like Libby, Hoopla, Press Reader, can offer some form of support. Sometimes people will bring in their iPad or their Kindle Fire and say like, hi, I'm trying to use Hoopla on this device, can you help me? We can help them with the software, such as Hoopla, work on their Kindle Fire or their Apple iPad. Um, when you give the device to the recipient, or if you were to purchase the device for yourself, a good idea is to write down the brand and the model of the device, as well as any usernames or passwords, especially your Google username and password, your Apple username and password. So it's helpful. So if they do need to, or if you do need to, um, get technical support from like the Genius Bar or by calling into Google's tech support, you can be able to give them that information, not necessarily your password or your username, but your brand and model of the device so they can guide you through the process of troubleshooting your device. Libraries will sometimes have guides of the devices based on their popularity. On our shelf, we do have books on the iPad. We also have some books on the Galaxy Tab. We might have a guide or two on the Kindle Fire. If we don't have a guide here, we can always request it from another library so that you have it available for you so that you can go ahead and have your device and the book as a guide to go through and understand the device a bit better. We're basically rounding out the program or the presentation. A couple of takeaways is, and I've reiterated this previously, is what you want to get depends on your budget and what they can, or rather want to do. And if this is for you, it just depends on your budget and what you want to do. So again, if you just want to read books, um, maybe consider an e-reader. But if you want to read books and listen to audiobooks and browse the internet and do a slew of other things, maybe a tablet would be helpful. And from those categories, drill down to what best fits your budget and your technical expertise. And I will say, as someone who has worked with some e-readers are trickier to use versus others. It just depends on how comfortable you are or the recipient is with technology. As I mentioned, the Nook, the Nook e-reader will need a computer so that you can plug it in to the computer so that you can transfer the book that you downloaded from Overdrive onto the Nook. If that sounds like too much of a chore, then maybe avoid the Nook e-reader. However, if you like a challenge and maybe you're a bit more technologically inclined and understand that that's just a small hurdle to deal with so that you can use a Nook e-reader, then by all means go ahead and get a Nook e-reader. I will say that once that initial step of setting up the Adobe Digital Editions and getting familiar with connecting the computer and the Nook, that process of getting books onto your Nook will get easier. And be ready to spend time with the recipient of the device, or just be ready to spend time with the device so that you can troubleshoot and work with the device. As they say, two heads are better than one. So if so work on the device with another individual, or rather the person that you're giving it to. And if you're still having some hangups, come to the library. A majority of the time, we can troubleshoot some things on the device, especially if it's dealing with any of our applications, such as Libby or Hoopla or Canopy or Press Reader. We have people that we can contact to say like, hey, so-and-so is having difficulty, or actually we're not going to use your name. We're just going to say, hi, we're having trouble getting Canopy on the Samsung Galaxy Tab 6 version, etc. Do you have any advice on how to do this or how to get the app working? And they'll email us with some tips to troubleshoot that device. Similar with just your device in general, YouTube is always helpful. If you know what you're Google, if you know what you're searching for, you can sometimes do like Apple iPad remove background, and there'll be a slew of videos that can guide you to the process of changing your background or maybe even turning off your iPad. Um, as long as you know the model and the make and or rather the name of the device that you're using. And with anything new, especially when you're taking on a new device that you're not too familiar with, be patient. It's going to be incredibly frustrating when you get yourself familiar with technology. You're going to want to just give yourself some breathing room. If you get too impatient, just step away from it. Do other household things, chores, or take a walk. Then come back to it. There is going to be some time to get familiar with. It's going to take some time to get familiar with the device if you're not technologically inclined, or if the recipient isn't technologically inclined. So give yourself some grace. And again, it's very hard to break a device unless you physically break the device by like snapping it in half or sitting on it or stepping on it or running it over with the car. It's really difficult to break the device. So with that said, that's the end of our presentation. If you have any further questions, you're more than welcome to email me. That is my email address and my extension. If you prefer a different perspective, or really any of us have the ability, any of us in adult services have the ability to kind of research any problems that you might be having with your new device and hopefully give you some type of solution. I'll go ahead and leave this here. If you have any questions, feel free to pop those in the Q&A. Wonderful. We have a great question. Warranties, if stolen, are GPS-enabled e-readers and tablets? Are used e-readers and tablets for sale? Yeah, great questions. In terms of warranties, it's best to check on the website itself. I believe Apple iPad is a year. Most tablets are a year with the option of potentially purchasing, especially with Apple. Sorry, I keep referring to Apple. That's because I have a slew of products from them. So there is that bias. Apple does give you the ability to extend the warranty of your devices through Apple Care. And you can either pay one flat sum or you can pay a monthly subscription so that it still falls under warranty for as long as you own it, or at least until unlimited years. If you're interested in getting an Apple iPad, talk to one of the geniuses. And like just if you're getting this from a store, it's always best to talk to someone. They'll have at least some knowledge or can point you to like where the warranty information can be found. The majority of the time, tablets, e-readers have about a year or so. That can be more or that can be slightly less. I know that's a non-answer. If stolen, are GPS-enabled e-readers and tablets? That's a great one. In terms of e-readers, I have not looked into that, but with tablets, both Google Android and Apple and any Apple product, any Android product and any Apple product, if you have something called Find My Device or like Find My iPad or Find My Phone, what you can do is you can get onto a second computer. You can go ahead and log into or if you have a second device, you can log into you can log onto your second device, and it will find all of the products registered under your name. So say that if you have a say that if you have an Apple iPhone, and the Apple ID is the same for your iPad, you can locate that device through your iPhone, and sometimes you could make a little noise so that it could, if you know that you place the item in your house but don't know where it is, it can give a little chime so that you can easily locate it. It can also allow you to lock the device so that you can prevent people from snooping in your device. You can also send a message to the device saying like, hey, if found, please contact. You can give your phone number and say maybe reward us X, Y, and Z if you're interested in that. Um, Another one is our used, and that goes the same for Google devices as well. I'm not too well versed in Android in terms of the GPS enabled features, but I know that you are able to track as long as there's some features enabled. Are used e-readers and tablets for sale? Yeah, that's a great question. Um, some uh, some companies will offer some what's called refurbished, and it's kind of a company term for like, oh yes, it's a used e-reader or tablet, or sometimes someone will return the tablet or e-reader because no, I don't like this, whatever. Um, Usually at a discount. So say that if you're looking for a Kindle Fire, a used Kindle Fire, it's best to go to the Amazon store, Amazon site, and look for a refurbished Kindle Fire, and it'll show you a list of Kindle Fires that are refurbished that uh, can be sold at a discount. Similar with tablets, I know the Apple iPad, Apple does have um, refurbished devices that you can purchase at a discount. This can save you anywhere between tens of dollars to maybe $100 or $200. Great question. Another question, retail trade-in availability. Another great question. Again, I'm going back to Apple because I've had more familiarity with Apple devices. And what's strange about Apple is it's all very much integrated. The store, the website, it's all basically one company that deals with it. Sometimes Apple will say like, oh, go ahead, do you need to recycle your old iPad? And what they'll do is they'll give you store credit. Sometimes it can be anywhere between $10 to $15. It could be more, it could be less. It just depends on the condition of the old device and just how old the device is. So there is a possibility for retail trade-in. You can also go ahead and just bypass the retail experience and sell it on Facebook or through Nextdoor. And that, of course, that one gets tricky because you're basically dealing with strangers on the internet versus a retail company. So please weigh out your risks and to see what would be beneficial for you. For sure, Apple does have the ability to you'll basically recycle your device and then be offered a gift card or trade in the amount of store credit that you can use towards other newer or even refurbished Apple products. That's a great question. I will. You're more than welcome. Everyone is more than welcome to add more questions. One of the things that, that was brought up by a coworker, and this has to deal with again Apple. is their grandchild is really interested in an iPad, and the magic. I think it's got the Apple Pencil, and what have have a serious conversation about that. Are they looking specifically for that device because of what it can help them with in terms of are there specific features of the Apple iPad that can't be found anywhere else that will make their life easier? And then there are times when people are just interested in the Apple iPad because it has great branding. Um, Marketing and branding is incredibly powerful. Uh, and of course, there's always because they have an Apple iPhone and because they have an Apple computer, they want to go with an Apple iPad because it's something familiar for them and easier for them to use. And of course, it comes with, price. It comes with Apple products tend to be a little more expensive. What I'm trying to go with this is, are they interested because um, the features of a particular item is helpful for them, or are they interested in the brand? Um, and that's a great conversation to have either with them or with yourself on why you want certain items. I For me, it depends. I have an Apple iPhone, I have an Apple iPad. However, lately, if I do get a new computer, it won't be Apple. It will be a Windows computer, because those tend to be a little cheaper. And Windows computers have come such a long way in terms of doing the same things that it can do as an Apple computer. It can run Adobe Photoshop, it can run Adobe Lightroom, it can run Adobe Premiere. Um, and so when I'm going with this, there's so many factors into your decision, but what it comes down to is price, comfort with technology, and what you want to do with that technology. And those are all three great questions to ask yourself or to the recipient. That's a great question. So one of the questions I asked was, how many e-readers and tablets does LLD have for checkout with an LLD card holder? So in terms of tablets, we do not have any tablets available for checkout. We do have a variety of e-readers, specifically Kindle and Nook. Um, so if you're interested, you're more than welcome to check those out. The thing is, those e-readers, both the Kindle and the Nook, with come preloaded with books. So there is a Kindle full of science fiction books. There is a Nook full of romance books. There is a Kindle full of novellas that we're not able to get in print form from popular authors, but are available as ebooks through Amazon. So we are able to offer those to Lisle Library District card holders. So there's, I believe, at the very minimum 7 combination of Kindles and Nooks in terms of e-readers. Unfortunately, we do not have any tablets. Maybe that might be something that we can add later in the future. So it is 8 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and, unless there aren't any other questions, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up the program. Thank you so much for taking the time to um, for this for this program, for participating in this program. Ooh, another question. Can you download onto them? Can you download onto the Kindle or the Nooks that we have at the LLD or at the Lisle Library District? No. Those are locked down. They just come preloaded with specific ebooks. We'll have an e-reader or a Kindle or Nooks that's specifically filled with science fiction, another one filled with romance, another one filled with air fiction book groups. You will not be able to transfer books onto them, unfortunately. Would that be something of interest later on? Um, it's a matter of technology and um, ensuring sort of the integrity of the e-reader. But that would be something to consider in terms of having at least a Kindle or a Nook for people to practice on. But unfortunately, at the moment, we do not have any Kindles or Nooks that you can download onto. Great question. Fantastic questions, by the way. I sincerely appreciate it. With that said, I'll go ahead and conclude tonight's program. This is being recorded and will be available for later review on our YouTube channel. It only takes about 1 week, 2 weeks, but it will be available on our YouTube channel. So if you go to lislelibrary.org and scroll all the way to the bottom, you should find the little YouTube link so that you could watch previous presentations if you'd like. We will, oh, I just forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, so yeah, you can go through that. Also, this presentation, a copy of this presentation, the slides are available on the events calendar. So you're more than welcome to go through that just as a refresher. It's available as a PDF, so it should work on any computer that doesn't have PowerPoint. You can also see it. You can also review it on your phone if you'd like, or if you have a tablet, you can also review it on your tablet. With that said, thank you so much. Again, if you have any further questions, feel free to email us, and we will email you back with our response. Thank you so much, and have a great evening. Take care.